Everyone believed Princess Kaelira of Varelia died during the final days of the Galactic War. Her ship, the Silver Flame, had been last seen above the burning skies of Sector 19, caught in a violent space battle between the Varelian royal fleet and the machines of the Croth Dominion. Witnesses said her cruiser was hit by a direct blast from a black matter cannon. It exploded in a storm of fire and metal. The wreckage drifted near a dying star, swallowed slowly by its gravity. No body was found, no signal, only silence. And so the galaxy mourned. For 10 years her people carried on without her. The royal family declared her a war martyr. Statues were raised, songs were written. But in the cold halls of the royal palace, some whispered doubts. Kaelira was not the kind to die easily. She had trained with soldiers, not just diplomats. She had been fearless, strong, and proud. The kind of princess who once flew a fighter jet through a meteor field just to save a single refugee ship. Many believed her light had gone out that day. Others weren't so sure. In the dark corners of deep space, something moved. A small recon probe sent by a scavenger group passed near an abandoned planet, the kind with broken buildings and air thick with old war dust. As the probe drifted past a wrecked tower, it caught a signal, weak, distorted, almost like a ghost. At first they thought it was old interference, but then it spoke. The voice was calm, clear, and undeniably alive. To the royal house of Varelia, this is Kaelira. I am not dead. The message lasted just 12 seconds. Then silence returned. The scavengers panicked. They knew what they'd heard. They sold the data to a shadow agent who passed it to a rebel channel. From there it spread like fire through the underworld and eventually reached Varelia's intelligence command. Analysts broke down the voice pattern. There was no doubt. It matched the princess exactly. More surprising than her voice was the second detail in the signal. A blurry image flickered across the data stream, two figures standing side by side on a rocky hill. One was clearly Kaelira, dressed in battle-worn armor. The other was a tall figure in dark power armor that didn't match any alien design. It was human. But no name, no ID, no face. Just a glowing red visor and a long weapon slung across the back. This changed everything. The royal family tried to keep the message secret, but it was too late. News broke out across the star systems. The lost princess might be alive, and she wasn't alone. She had returned with a human soldier. Panic spread in high places. The Varelian Council met in a hidden chamber, arguing about what to do. If Kaelira was alive, she had a claim to the throne, a claim that would shake the balance of power. But the human beside her, that was a bigger problem. The war had left deep scars. Many still blamed humans for the chaos. They were seen as wild, uncontrollable, and dangerous. For a royal to appear with one, especially in armor, with a weapon, was a threat to the peace carefully built after the war. But not everyone was afraid. In the lower districts of the capital, people cheered. "She's alive!" they shouted. "She's coming back!" Some even painted her face on walls, holding hands with a faceless, armored man. The people remembered her not as a ruler, but as a fighter, someone who didn't hide behind walls when war came, someone who bled beside them. The news gave them hope again. Back on the abandoned planet, something else stirred. A patrol ship from the Varelian Navy arrived at the last known signal point. They found nothing but old ruins and fresh footprints in the dust. One of the scouts swore he saw a shadow move beyond the hills. A second later, their systems went dark. A hidden pulse had fried their scanners. When power returned, a single symbol glowed on their screen, a Varelian royal crest painted in red, marked with a human skull behind it. This wasn't just survival. This was a message. Kaelira was alive. She had survived the worst of the war. And now she wasn't running. She was watching, planning, waiting. The soldier who stood beside her, whoever he was, had kept her safe in the darkest corners of space. But why? What was his mission? Was he friend? Or something more? Nobody could say. But one thing was clear. She had chosen to return with him, not with ships, not with fleets. Just one human, and that choice meant everything. Some say the stars themselves held their breath that night, because when a lost princess comes back from the dead, with a Terran warrior at her side, the galaxy knows something big is coming. And it will not be gentle. No one knew his name. No one knew where he came from. But the human soldier who stood beside Princess Kalira was real and dangerous. The image from the signal was blurry, but experts confirmed it. His armor was human-made, but it had strange parts not used by Earth's military. Old tech, maybe even banned tech. Whoever he wasn't part of any known force. He was a ghost. The Varelian Intelligence Council held an emergency meeting. Kalira's return was shocking enough, but her protector raised even more questions. What if he's a mercenary? One elder asked. What if he's using her for power? Another whispered. But the image told a different story. She wasn't behind him. She stood beside him, equal. And there was something in her eyes, calm, confident, not afraid, not forced. She had chosen to be there, with him. Across the stars, rumors spread fast. People said the soldier had once been part of a secret human squad, left behind during the war. Some said he was a weapon, built in a lab. Others claimed he was dead too, killed in the same battle Kalira vanished in. But none of it made sense. He looked alive, strong, and far too skilled to be a survivor by luck. On a dusty moon station, an old Varelian captain watched the footage. He had fought in the war. He remembered the Terrans well. Only a few of them were like that. He muttered, quiet, cold, trained to kill entire squads alone. He leaned forward, pointing at the screen. That one. He's not here to talk. Meanwhile, Kalira and the human soldier were already moving. In a stolen stealth ship, silent and fast, they flew toward the heart of Virelia. But they didn't land. Instead, they entered a hidden orbit watching from above. The soldier hacked into the local networks, pulling files, codes, and maps. Kalira said nothing. She just stared down at the capital she once called home. That night, an explosion rocked a military base on the outer ring. Security cameras showed nothing, only a flash. Then smoke. When troops arrived, they found strange symbols drawn into the walls, half Varelian, half Terran. No one claimed responsibility, but inside the ruins they found a single message burned into a steel door. She's not your puppet. In secret, a royal investigator followed the signal trail that first revealed Kalira's voice. He traced it back to an old bunker on a dead planet. The bunker was empty, but it had been used. Food packs, weapon parts, training gear, and something else. A journal, written in Varelian script. The handwriting was Kalira's. Page after page told a hidden story. She had survived the crash. Wounded. Alone. And she was found, not by her own people, but by a human. He had no name. He never gave one. But he saved her life. He built shelter, hunted food, fought off Kroth scouts. For weeks they spoke little. She didn't trust him. He didn't ask for trust. But slowly, they began to understand each other. She taught him her language. He taught her how to fight like him. Brutal, fast, silent. One night, he saved her again. This time from an assassin who had tracked her from space. After that, she took a Varelian blood oath, a sacred promise. Life for life. She would follow him, protect him, as he had protected her. And so they became more than allies. They became bonded. Back in the capital, not everyone believed the journal was real. She was a child of war, the regent said to the High Council. She is not thinking clearly. We must bring her back and separate her from that human. But the people didn't agree. On the streets, chants echoed louder each day. Let her speak. Let her return. But Kalara didn't come to talk. Not yet. One by one, small outposts around the capital began to lose power. Their security feeds were hacked. The guards saw nothing but weapons disappeared. Files were stolen. The council panicked. "Is this war?" someone asked. "No," whispered another. "It's a warning." Then came the real shock. A transport. Ship landed outside the southern wall of the capital. Inside were no soldiers, only recordings. Videos of Kailira and the human fighting side by side, training others, building something, a hidden force. A shadow army. The last video showed Kailira speaking directly to the camera. "I did not die. I was forgotten. But now I remember everything. Who left me? Who tried to bury me? I come not to destroy Virelia, but to save it. You tried to rule, without me. Now I choose who stands beside me." The feed ended with the human soldier stepping into frame. He said just one line. "If you try to take her again, I won't ask twice." The screen went black. Now the galaxy knew two things for sure. Kailira was alive, and the human by her side was no one's servant. He was her sword, and Virelia would soon learn what that truly meant. The Virelian High Council met in complete silence. The chamber, once filled with proud voices, now felt cold and heavy. Kailira's message had shocked everyone. Not just her return, but her promise. She would not obey. She would choose. That was not the way of royalty. That was rebellion. Outside the palace walls, the people were not afraid. They were excited. Thousands had seen the broadcast, her face, her voice, her strength. After so many years of lies, they believed in her again. "The princess lives," they whispered in every market, every home, every street. "And she brings change." But the council was afraid. They remembered the girl Kailira used to be, strong-willed, proud, but loyal. Now she was a warrior, and worse, she had the support of a human. In the hidden control room beneath the palace, the Royal Intelligence Director studied new footage from border satellites. A cloaked ship was moving near Virelia's outer moons. Too fast, too quiet. It had no Virelian signature, but its path matched old Terran stealth designs. "She's watching us," he said, waiting. Meanwhile, in a secret base hidden inside a cold asteroid field, Kailira and the human prepared for what came next. She stood over a hologram map, showing cities, defense zones, and hidden weapons caches. He stood beside her, silent, scanning new data from intercepted Virelian transmissions. "You think they'll send assassin?" she asked. He didn't look up. "They already have." She smiled. "Good, let them come." He said nothing, just loaded another round into his weapon. Later that night, an elite strike team landed on the asteroid base. 12 Virelian commandos, trained in deep space combat. They moved in silence. Weapons ready? They had orders to bring Kailira back, alive if possible, dead if necessary. What they didn't know, she was waiting. The first soldier stepped into the main hall. Then the lights died. A flash, a blur, and he was gone. The second never even screamed. By the time the last two reached the command room, they were shaking. The door opened, and Kailira stood there, her sword drawn, armor glowing faintly red. Behind her, the human stepped out of the shadows. His armor was darker than night. His weapon hummed with silent energy. The two soldiers dropped their rifles. He walked forward and picked up a small badge from one of the fallen soldiers. He handed it to Kailira. "You were right," he said. "They sent family." She looked down. It was the mark of her cousin, General Kayvon, a man who had always wanted her throne. He had betrayed her once during the war. Now he tried again. No more warnings. Kailira stood before her soldiers, former mercenaries, rebels, forgotten warriors. All had once been hunted. All had chosen to follow her. She raised her voice. "Virelia chose to forget us. But we remember. We are not rebels. We are the future. They hide behind titles. We walk in truth, tomorrow we land. The soldiers cheered. The humans simply nodded. Back in the capital, General Kayvan received the news. His elite team was gone, erased, not captured, not wounded, gone. He slammed his hand on the table. She's forcing war. But he knew the truth. Kalira wasn't forcing anything. She was responding. And worse, she was winning the people. Small banners appeared across the city, marked with her old symbol, the rising flame. Songs returned to the streets. Children wore paper crowns with her name. The city was changing. And then, it happened. A rebel fleet, 20 small ships appeared in orbit. They broadcast no threat, no demands, just a signal. Kalira returns. The council screamed for defense. The palace shields went up. Fighters launched. But Kalira's ships never fired. Instead, one small shuttle left the lead cruiser. It headed straight for the surface. No weapons, no guards, just Kalira and the human. They walked through the capital streets as people watched from windows and rooftops. No one stopped them. No one dared. They walked together, her steps proud, his silent and alert, until they reached the old royal statue in the city square. Kalira looked up at the stone version of herself, built after she was declared dead. She touched the base of it and whispered, "I was never gone." The human stood beside her, scanning the rooftops, watching every shadow. They didn't come to start a fight, but they were ready if it began. By nightfall, Kalira had returned to the one place she swore she never would. Not as a guest, not as a prisoner, as a force. And next time, she wouldn't be alone. Because behind her, in the dark sky above, her true fleet waited. Built in secret, powered by the war, trained by the human who taught her to fight like him. Virilia thought the war ended 10 years ago, but for Kalira and the soldier beside her, it had just begun. The city held its breath. Kalira and the human had walked straight through the capital. No guards, no armor support, just the two of them. But no one dared to stop them. The people whispered her name. They watched from windows, from rooftops, from shadowed doorways. It felt like a dream, a legend stepping into the light. Inside the palace, the council panicked. They ordered the royal guard to intercept Kalira, to arrest her before she reached the gates. But something strange happened. The guards hesitated. Many of them had once served her. They remembered the girl who trained with them, who led them into battle. And now she had returned, not weak, not broken, but stronger. When the gate guards received the command to capture her, they simply let her pass. Kalira walked up the palace steps with her head held high. Her armor gleamed, worn from battle but clean. At her side, the human soldier walked without fear, eyes sharp, hand near his weapon. Inside the throne room, the council waited. General Kayvan stood near the high seat, where he had claimed temporary control since Kalira was declared dead. His jaw clenched when he saw her enter. Kalira didn't bow. She didn't kneel. She simply looked around the room and said, "This was once my home. You turned it into a cage." Kayvan stepped forward. "You are not queen. You disappeared. You sided with an outsider, a Terran." The human didn't speak. He just looked at Kayvan, and Kayvan took one step back. Kalira replied, "I didn't disappear. I was left to die. And this outsider saved me when none of you did." One of the counselors tried to speak, but the human's eyes stopped him cold. There was something in that look, something deadly. Like he had seen war they couldn't imagine. Kayvan raised his hand. "This is treason. You come here with threats, with stolen ships. I come with truth." Kalira cut him off, "and with the people behind me." As if on cue, a sound echoed from outside the palace. Voices, loud and growing. A chant rising like a wave. "Kalira, Kalira, The people had gathered. Thousands filled the square, more than any council could ignore. Kalira stepped forward. I'm not asking for the throne back, I'm taking it. Not for power, for justice. For everyone you abandoned while you played kings and gods. Kayvon's eyes burned with anger. And what of him? He pointed to the human. He's not one of us, he's a weapon. The human finally spoke. His voice was calm but firm. I am what you made me. You called us monsters in your war. But it was you who broke the treaty. You who betrayed her people. I've seen what you hide. Kalira nodded. He found the hidden prisons. The secret labs, the lies you buried, I have proof. That single word, proof, shook the room, but Kayvon wasn't finished. I will not surrender Virelia to a half-ghost princess and a Terran killer, he shouted, drawing his blade. In one smooth motion, the human moved. A blur of black armor and speed. His blade was at Kayvon's throat before anyone could blink. Not touching, just close enough to make a point. Kalira said softly, try that, again, and he won't miss. Kayvon froze. A tense silence fell. The council looked at each other. No one spoke, no one moved. Then one elder, old and wise, stood. We made a mistake, she said quietly. She was never weak. We were just too afraid to see her strength. One by one, others stood too. Some bowed their heads. Some simply stepped back. They knew the truth now. The old rule was dying. Kalira walked to the throne. She didn't sit. She turned and faced the people gathered below the balcony. The doors were opened wide now. All could see her. I am not the girl who left this palace in flames, she said. I am the woman who survived the fire, and I will lead us forward, not with fear, but with truth. Beside her, the human watched the skies. He knew this wasn't the end. Kayvon's power was broken, but his allies would not give up so easily. The dark parts of the galaxy, mercenary fleets were already being paid, assassins hired, ancient enemies awakened, and something else stirred, something neither Kalira nor the soldier had faced yet. But for now, Virelia stood tall. For the first time in 10 years, the people cheered not for a legend, but for their returned princess and the human who walked through hell to bring her home. The fire had not destroyed her, it had forged her. The throne room was quiet now. Kalira stood beside the high seat, but she still hadn't sat on it. Not yet. The people outside chanted her name. The council had backed down, but something didn't feel right. The human soldier beside her, known only as Daxon to a few, scanned the room with sharp eyes. He never relaxed. He didn't trust peace, not when it came this easily. You should sit, said one of the older counselors, her voice shaky. The people need to see their queen. Kalira didn't move. Not yet, she said. The city may welcome me back, but the war is not over. Just then a messenger rushed in. A fleet has entered our space, he said, out of breath. Unmarked ships, no flag, no response to hails. Daxon's expression changed. How many? He asked. Over 50 warships, the messenger said. All armed. Kalira turned to the council. Whose ships are those? No one answered. Then Kayvon, now under guard, laughed bitterly. You think taking the palace wins the war? I planned for this. Do you really think I'd fall without a knife in your back? Kalira walked over to him. Then you've just admitted it, she said. You brought mercenaries into our skies, against your own people. I brought order, he growled. You brought chaos. That fleet will restore what matters. Daxon stepped forward. We need to move, now. They're not here to threaten, they're here to strike. An alarm rang out across the palace. Sirens, emergency signals. Outside, the sky darkened as the fleet entered orbit. Strange shapes, old warships, patched and modified, aimed their cannons toward the capital. The people looked up and gasped. Some screamed, others froze. The air felt heavy, like the war had returned in full. Inside a hidden chamber of the palace, Kalira and Daxon activated a secret command center, one built by her father during the First Galactic War. It still worked. Screens lit up. Enemy fleet, positions, weapon scans. Daxon's eyes moved quickly across the data. "They're not standard mercs," he said. "Some of these ships were thought destroyed, and the pilots, they fought Terrans before." Kalira understood. "They're hunters," she said. "They specialize in one thing, killing people like you. And now they've been paid to kill both of us," Daxon added. She placed her hand on the central console. "Then it's time they learned something." Through a hidden code, Kalira sent a signal across the system. It was short, simple, but powerful. Virelia rises. Moments later, secret ships launched from the planet's surface. Cloaked fighters, old royal destroyers hidden in caves and under oceans. Loyal commanders, thought dead or retired, now answered her call. In the streets, rebels armed with old gear came forward. Civilians made space. Volunteers joined the lines. Virelia was not going to surrender. Daxon led the defense plans. He connected with the fighters and gave precise instructions. "They'll try to strike the palace first," he said. "We make it look weak, then hit them from below." Kalira turned to him. "You've done this before." He didn't smile. "Once, on Earth. The odds were worse." As the battle began in orbit, the skies above the palace lit up. The mercenary fleet opened fire, raining energy blasts toward the city. But shields, long hidden and powered down, came online with a roar. Ancient Virelian tech pulsed to life. Kalira stared through the glass dome. "We are not falling again," she whispered. But the mercs were smart. They dropped troops. Dozens of assault pods crashed into the outer edges of the capital. Black-armored warriors marched through fire and smoke, shooting anything that moved, and they were headed straight for the palace. Daxon took command of the inner defense. Kalira donned her combat armor again. Lighter now, faster, a fusion of Terran tech and Virelian design. She moved like lightning, her blade glowing with heat. Together, she and Daxon led the charge. Hallways shook. Soldiers screamed. Explosions rocked the towers. In the middle of the chaos, Kalira found herself face to face with a merc captain. Tall, brutal, with a scar across one eye. "You don't belong on that throne," he hissed. She raised her blade. "And you don't belong in my sky." They fought. Steel against steel, sparks flew. Daxon cleared the way, covering her back like a shadow. Finally, Kalira struck a deep blow. The captain fell. The tide began to turn. The people saw it, on screens, on rooftops, in hiding places. Their princess wasn't just a leader, she was a warrior. And as the last of the mercs were pushed back into orbit, the people rose again, not in fear, but in fury. Virelia had been silent for too long. Now, it was awake. And Kalira had proven one thing. She was no longer just royalty. She was revolution. The battle was over. But the war was not. Smoke still rose from the city's edges. Craters burned in the streets. The enemy fleet had been pushed back but not destroyed. They were regrouping beyond the moon, waiting, watching. Inside the palace, Kalira walked through the ruined halls. Her armor was scratched. Her arms ached, but she was alive and more dangerous than ever. Daxon followed behind her, his eyes scanning every corner. "They'll come again," he said. "And next time, they won't just use mercs." Kalira nodded. "I know." The people had seen her fight. They had seen their princess lead from the front, blade in hand. Across the city, murals of her had already started to appear, painted on walls, drawn in ash and light. But power came with a price. The council, weakened but still present, called an emergency meeting. Some of them still feared her. Others simply didn't understand her. "You can't fight everyone," one counselor said. "This is a time for negotiation, not more battles." "I won't let Kayvan's allies take this world again," Kalira said calmly. "If they want war, we finish it." If they want peace, they come to us. Another counselor pointed at Daxon. And him? He's not Varelian. He's a Terran soldier. How long before Earth gets involved? Daxon didn't answer. His silence was sharper than any word. Kalira replied for him. Earth isn't invading. They don't even know he's here. He came for me, that's all. The council argued. Voices rose. But in the end, no one had a better plan. Kalira had become the symbol now, the hope, the fire. They needed her more than they feared her. That night, Kalira stood alone on the palace balcony. The stars looked different now, darker, closer. She could feel the enemy beyond them. Watching, Daxon joined her. You okay? He asked quietly. No, she said. But I'm ready. He looked at her. There's something you need to know. About the fleet. She turned. What? I ran the scans. I recognized some of their signal codes. They're not just mercs. Someone powerful is backing them. Someone with access to old Terran tech. Kalira's eyes narrowed. Who? Daxon hesitated. Project Black Echo. The name dropped like a stone. She had heard rumors, back during the Galactic War. A secret Terran weapons program. Soldiers trained for total war. But it was shut down years ago. Or so everyone believed. You were part of it? She asked. Briefly, he said. I walked away. They didn't. Kalira felt a cold weight settle in her chest. So they're not just after me. They're after you too. They won't stop, he said. And they won't just come with ships next time. They'll come with ghosts. The next morning, the first warning came. A Varelian scout ship was found floating near the edge of the system. Its crew was gone, vanished without a trace. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Just a single message scratched into the hull. She woke the dark. Kalira ordered the ship brought to orbit. It was a message, a threat, but also a clue. Daxon stood beside her, reading the words again and again. It's not just about politics, he said. This is personal. Someone wants revenge. But why now? Kalira asked. Because they thought you were dead, and now they know you're not. That evening, a secret chamber deep beneath the palace was unlocked. Her father had built it during the war. Only the true heir could open it. Inside were old records, hidden maps, and something more. Something wrapped in silver armor and covered with dust. It was a prototype starfighter, Terran-made, Varelian enhanced. And it had Kalira's name etched on the side. Daxon smiled. Now that's a statement. Kalira touched the hull. It was cold, but pulsed faintly under her hand. If they want to wake the dark, she said softly, then we'll show them what the light can do. The next hours passed fast. Pilots were trained. Ships were armed. A message was sent across Allied systems. Virelia will not kneel. But something else happened too. Something Kalira hadn't expected. Other lost worlds began to rise. Old allies, forgotten colonies, even some humans from far-off Terran sectors. They heard the signal. They saw the footage. A princess thought dead, a human soldier at her side, and a war no one was supposed to survive. Hope began to spread like fire, and in the shadows far away, the true enemy prepared to reveal itself. They wore no flag. They served no empire. They were what came after the fall of reason, and they were coming straight for her. The stars above Virelia burned bright, but they did not shine with peace. From the edge of the system, the enemy had arrived. Not mercenaries this time. Not greedy warlords or traitors. These were something else. Silent. Deadly. Hidden behind stealth fields and shadow drives. Project Black Echo. Daxon stood at the war table, staring at the data. The ships were Ghost class, impossible to track without special codes. Terran tech twisted into something worse. They're not here for a battle, he said. They're here to erase us. Kalira, dressed in her command armor, stepped forward. Then we make sure they remember. Across Veralia, her people were ready. Fighters lined the launch bays, shield towers glowed across the city. Volunteers from allied planets had arrived, some in worn ships, others with nothing but courage. She gave one last message to her people. We survived betrayal. We survived exile. Now we fight for our future. The enemy fleet appeared all at once. Hundreds of black ships blinking into view, silent, no demands, no warning. They fired first. The sky turned to fire. Daxon and Kalira launched in the prototype starfighter. Twin cores burned in its engines, one Terran, one Verelian. Together they cut through the enemy like lightning. The battle spread through space and atmosphere. In orbit, Verelian cruisers fought with everything they had. On the ground, the people refused to flee. They fought in the streets, on rooftops, in the rubble. Kalira led the charge from above, calling out targets, guiding squadrons, and striking the enemy head-on. Daxon flew like a ghost, dancing between missiles and laser fire. But the enemy had something more. In the heart of their fleet was a single massive vessel, blacker than space, pulsing with red energy. It was the command ship. And it was calling to her. It knows me, Kalira said, gripping the controls. It knows both of us, Daxon replied. They made a run for it, straight through the center of the enemy formation. Shields dropped, missiles flew, but nothing could stop them now. They entered the heart of the ship. Inside it was not just metal. It was alive. The walls moved, machines breathed, and in the center, waiting for them, stood a figure covered in armor that looked grown, not built. It spoke, in a voice that echoed with many. You should have stayed dead, Princess. Kalira raised her weapon. You should have picked a different planet. The fight was brutal. Fast. No time to think. Only action. Daxon covered her back, firing into the moving walls, blasting drones and shadow creatures. Kalira faced the armored commander, sword against claws, light against darkness. Finally, she found the weak point. Her blade, glowing white-hot, sliced through the armor and into the core. The ship screamed. It began to collapse. They ran, racing back to the fighter. Explosions shook the walls. Flames chased them. They made it out just in time. Behind them, the command ship exploded, taking dozens of others with it. The enemy fleet, leaderless, scattered. Veralia had won. The skies were clear. The war was over. Days later, the capital was quiet. Rebuilding had begun. People smiled again. Children played in the streets. Flags of Veralia flew high. Kalira stood at the top of the palace steps. This time, she sat on the throne. And this time, the people cheered not just for a princess, but for a queen. Daxon stood at her side, silent as always, but finally at peace. He had come here to help one person. Now he had helped save a world. You could leave, Kalira said to him one night under the stars. You don't owe us anything. He looked at her. I didn't stay for them, he said. She smiled. Then stay a little longer. From the ruins of war, something new had grown, something stronger than ships or weapons. Hope. Across the galaxy, her name was now known. Kalira, the lost princess. The warrior queen. The one who rose from exile to lead a planet, a people, and a future. And at her side, always, was the human soldier who walked through shadows for her. Together, they had changed the galaxy and the stars. Finally, shined in peace.